blues fans. Welcome to another episode of This Week in the Blues. I'm your host, Jimbo Big Train Madsen. And this week, we're in front of STAX Studio in Memphis, Tennessee. We'll tell you a little bit more about STAX and at the end of the show. But until then, let's take a look at what happened this week in blues history.
Rhythm and blues drummer Soko Richardson was born December 8, 1939 in New Iberia, Louisiana. His career spanned almost 50 years, and he played with John Mayall's Bluesbreakers, the Ike and Tina Turner Review, and many others. His musical career began at the age of 16 when he left home to tour the South with local bands. Not long after that, Ike Turner heard Richardson play in Texas. He hired him to play with his band, the Kings of Rhythm, and then later with the Ike and Tina Turner Review. Harmonica blues legend Junior Wells was born December 9, 1934 in West Memphis, Arkansas. He is best known for his signature song, Messin' with the Kid, and his 1965 album, Hoodoo Man Blues, described as one of the truly classic blues albums of the 60s. Initially taught by his cousin, Junior Parker, and by Sonny Boy Williamson too, Wells learned to play the harmonica skillfully by the age of 7. He performed and recorded with various notable blues musicians, including Muddy Waters, Earl Hooker, and Buddy Guy. He remained a fixture on the blues scene throughout his career, and also crossed over to rock audiences while touring with the Rolling Stones. Louisiana blues singer and songwriter Jesse Hill was born December 9, 1932 in New Orleans. He's best remembered for the classic song, Ooh Papa Doo. He was playing drums in local bands in his teens, and in 1951 he formed his own group, the House Rockers. He spent time drumming for Professor Longhair and Huey Piano Smith. In 1958, Hill formed a new version of the House Rockers, allowing him to do more vocal work. Blues guitarist Blind Roosevelt Graves was born December 9, 1909. On all his recordings, he played with his brother, Eweroy Graves, who was also nearly blind and played the tambourine. They are credited as Blind Roosevelt Graves and Brother. Their first recordings were made in 1929 for Paramount Records. Theirs is the earliest version recorded of the song Guitar Boogie, and they exemplified the best in gospel singing with I'll Be Rested. One blues researcher has also suggested that their 1929 recording of Crazy About My Baby could be considered the first rock and roll recording. Now that was him saying that. I am not going anywhere near that emotional tar pit triggered by the question, what's the first rock and roll song? Not going there. But let's go another direction. Here's a Delta ghost story about William Casey Bill Weldon, who was possibly born December 10th, 1909. I say possibly because, many details of Weldon's life are unconfirmed. Possibly born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and later lived and worked in Chicago. He was one of the early musicians who recorded playing slide guitar. Playing a National steel guitar flat on his lap Hawaiian style, he was known as the Hawaiian Guitar Wizard. The original hound dog, Big Mama Thornton, was born December 11th in 1926. She was given her nickname Big Mama by the manager of Harlem's Apollo Theater because of her strong voice, size, and personality. Thornton stated that she was louder than any microphone and did not want a microphone to ever be as loud as she was. In 1984, she was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame. Cornelius Green III, who you probably know as Lonesome Sundown, was born December 12th in 1928. His first hit was Leave My Money Alone in the 1950s. Over the next 8 years, Sundown's output included My Home is a Prison, I'm a Mojo Man, I Stood By, I'm a Samplin' Man, and a host of memorable swamp classics, all of which preceded his 1965 retirement from the blues business to devote his life to the church. It was 1977 before Sundown could be coaxed back into a studio to cut a blues album titled Been Gone Too Long. Blues guitar maestro Wayne Bennett was born December 13th, 1931 in Sulphur, Oklahoma. Bennett is renowned for his front work with Bobby Blue Bland between the 1950s and 1980s. He started playing guitar in his teens and performed in local bands. In 1950, he joined Amos Milburn's band and made his first recordings with Milburn in California. In the early 1950s, Bennett moved to Chicago and recorded in the 1950s with Otis Rush, Buddy Guy, Jimmy Reed, and Elmore James. In the late 50s, he was picked to join the touring and recording orchestra of Bobby Blue Bland. Here's another Delta Ghost story for you. Now this one is about the blues singer and guitarist Garfield Akers. Between 1929 and 1930, he only recorded 4 sides, which are nonetheless historically significant. Now all the pieces are played fast and stomping for the time, clearly foreshadowing rhythm and blues as well as rock and roll. His most well-known song was his debut, Cotton Field Blues, a duet with friend and longtime collaborator Mississippi Joe Callicott on second guitar. Outside of his recordings, not much is known of Akers' background or his origins. Now a little about STAX Records. STAX was based in Memphis, Tennessee. It was originally founded in 1957 as Satellite Records, and it changed its name to STAX Records in September of 1961. The label was founded by Jim Stewart and his sister, Estelle Axton. Now, if you take the first 2 letters of each last name, Stewart, S-T, and Axton, A-X, you get STAX. STAX was influential in the creation of Southern Soul and Memphis Soul music. It also created several ethnically integrated bands, including the label's house band, Booker T and the MGs. They also had a racially integrated team of staff and artists, which was unprecedented at that time of racial tension in Memphis and in the South. Well, blues fans, we just covered some of the highlights here. Now, if you want to know more about these artists or other things that happened this week in the blues, be sure to follow our social media pages or visit our website at bigtrainblues.com. Now we'll have a brand new episode next week, so we'll see you then.